Hi, this is Helen from 3 Weeks Design again, and I'm back to share with you further review of Winnie's Picks Paint by Numbers for Adults. So I was looking on their website, and they have some really great tips to help you be more successful as you paint your project. So I thought today I'd share some of the things I'd like to review about their product, and also some of their tips and some of my own tips that I've come up with as I've been working. First of all, let me start with the great quality of their products. When you pull out the product, the canvas is already gessoed and ready for you to start painting on, so that's really wonderful. On the website they suggest that you tape down your project to a hard surface and lay it flat to paint on. In my case, I used foam core and taped it down with this tape. You could use a painter's tape or whatever. You want to make the tape not too sticky because you don't want to tear your canvas. I also paint, the product comes with a little picture of what your final outcome should be. So I attached it right here so I could refer to it when I need to see how my painting's coming along. I like it on the foam core because it's nice and stiff, but it's also able to be manipulated, so if I need to turn it around to a different area to paint to see it better or whatever, it's really easy to do that. So I really like it taped down on the foam core. Later on I'll take it up and I will stretch it onto stretcher bars and to be able to mount it. So that's a really good tip. They suggested putting it on foam core if you have an easel. I don't have an easel, but this still is a really good way to work on it. I wanted to talk about the brushes. If you notice, I have them laying down here, and that's one of the tips online for taking care of your brushes. Clean them often in the water as you paint so the paint doesn't get clumpy, and when you're finished using them, lay them down on a paper towel to dry. Don't stand them up or you'll ruin the bristles. So they're pretty good paint brushes, and I haven't lost any bristles yet. They keep a good tip, and I really have liked these brushes as I've worked on the project. The other thing I wanted to talk about is the paints themselves. They come in these little pots, which is kind of the way paints usually come in these paint by number kits. It's very important to keep them closed when you're not using them, or acrylic paints dry out really quickly and then you won't have the paint when you need it as you move along the project. So take good care of your paints and keep them closed and from drying out. If you want to, you can add extender to the paints to keep them a little thinner and a little moister longer. I haven't done that yet, but I'm considering doing that so that the paints will last. When I started painting, because I'm right-handed, I started at the left-hand side of the board, and I started in the upper left-hand corner so that my hand wouldn't lay on wet paint. I use one paint number at a time. I started with the number 2 because that was the first thing in the corner here. And I've gotten so that I work my way across, doing all the number 2s or whatever number you're working on all the way across the board. Sometimes you might miss one and it's easy to come back and catch it later. But if you do that, by the time you get to this end, this side will be pretty dry and you can start on your next number without a lot of problem with smearing or anything. And I try to keep it on a plane about this wide, and then a little farther, and then a little farther, and gradually you see your picture coming to life. But as you can see, I haven't gotten down to the bottom yet. I'm just working my way down there gradually. And I think that helps me keep from smearing as much and from having to clean my brush too often between colors and everything. So that's been a good tip for me. One other really important tip that we get online is to have good lighting. I'm here in my new craft room and it has a lot of good natural lighting, plus I have overhead lighting, and it's really important because these little shapes on your painting canvas are so small, so you want to have good lighting to see what you're doing, and you want to use a magnifying glass sometimes to make sure you can see what you're painting. But one last tip I want to tell you is something that I've learned over the years, is that there are no straight lines in nature. So if you go out of the line a little bit, it's very easy to fix, or it doesn't matter at all, because there are no straight lines. So your lines don't need to be perfectly in the line. You can paint a little bit out of the box and it'll be just fine. If you're painting man-made things like my train, you might need to try to be a little bit more precise on lines, but really in the long run, it's all very fixable. So just relax and enjoy yourself, and don't sweat the small stuff, and your product will come out looking really great. I want to thank Winnie's Picks for this great product, and I'm going to keep painting. Bye.